She confided in a stranger unknowingly her millionaire boss who loved her was listening at 3 a.m. The clock ticked ominously as the hands moved closer to 3. Shadows danced around the dimly lit room, contorting into shapes that resembled secrets lurking just out of sight. Talia's heart raced. She sat on the edge of her bed, her breath hitching with each echoing sound from the old building. The world outside was quiet except for the whisper of the wind, as if nature itself was holding its breath. It was in this eerie stillness that she made the fateful choice to pick up her phone, not realizing a certain pair of eyes were watching closely, listening intently. It wasn't just any voice she was confiding in tonight. She was spilling her soul to a stranger on the other side of a podcast called Life Unfiltered. She had originally tuned in to find solace, but tonight felt different. The host, charming yet mysterious, coaxed her through the speaker like a spellbinding magician, wrapping her in a false sense of security. She let the words flow, her worries pouring out like a waterfall. Talia talked of her dreams, her fears, and underneath it all, the intense draw she felt toward her charming boss, Lucas. He was more than a coworker. He was the reason her heart fluttered and her cheeks flushed. Little did she know, Lucas was locked in his car just outside, earbuds in, listening, his heart pounding at her revelation. With each confession, the chill in the air thickened. Talia's words were laced with uncertainty, a tremor in her voice that pulled at Lucas. A part of him felt guilty, hiding beyond the veil of darkness, eavesdropping on her every thought. Yet, another side relished hearing her unguarded honesty. Does she feel this way about me? He wondered, a tightness forming in his chest. Was she aware of the audience she had in the shadows? The thrill mixed with an unsettling sense of danger electrified the atmosphere. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Talia continued to share her aspirations, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The walls seemed to close in on her, amplifying her voice and drawing her deeper. There was something magical, yet utterly terrifying, about pouring her heart out without realizing who was listening. Each word seemed to weave a spell, wrapping Lucas tighter into her dreams. Would he ever feel the same? As she plunged deeper into that abyss of hope, a sudden sound shattered the silence, a loud thud from the other side of her window. Her heart leaped into her throat. Was it just her imagination, or had someone heard her? The world had turned unsettlingly quiet again, except for her own frantic breathing. Talia flipped her phone off, tossing it aside as she crept toward the window, terror clawing at her throat. What would she find outside? What was waiting in the dark? Listening, watching? The night now felt like a trap, and Talia was caught inside. Talia's heart pounded as she approached the window, each step heavy with dread. Shadows flitted outside, making the branches of the trees look like eerie fingers clawing at the glass. She paused, breathless, torn between the urge to flee and the need to know. Just look, she told herself, staggering closer, the chill seeping into her bones, drawing back the curtain ever so slightly. She scanned the street below. Moonlight bathed everything in a silvery glow, but what she saw stopped her cold. There, just outside her window, was a figure tall, cloaked in darkness, watching her. The face was obscured, but the silhouette was unmistakable. Fear cascaded through her, sending her racing heart into a panic frenzy. Talia. Lucas's voice slipped into her thoughts, a haunting echo of comfort. But could she trust that feeling? He was out there, and she had spilled everything about him to a voice she thought was just noise, secrets she had never shared. As she stumbled back from the window, the thud rang out again, more insistent this time. It was different from the first sound. Felt deliberate, as if someone was trying to get her attention. She held her breath, every nerve on edge, the world outside her imagination more frightening than anything she could conjure. Hello? She called out, her voice trembling. The street remained silent. Was it just her mind playing tricks? She felt a wild urge to unlock the door, to confront the figure lurking in the dark. Would it be Lucas, or someone else entirely? Just then, her phone buzzed weakly against the sheets, cutting through the tension like a knife. It startled her, breaking the spell of silence. With hesitant fingers, she reached for it, heart racing as she saw a message pop up on the screen. It was from the podcast host, the very voice she had been confiding in. Loved our chat tonight. You're stronger than you know. But some secrets are meant to stay hidden for now. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't given her contact info. How could he know? The realization sent waves of nausea crashing over her. She wasn't safe. The stranger was out there, and he knew about her feelings for Lucas. And worse, he might know more than that. Talia felt her mind whirl as uncertainty wrapped its icy tendrils around her heart. Was this just a game? Then, in the stillness, another noise echoed outside. A low chuckle. Talia froze, paralyzed between dread and terror. Whatever was lurking outside didn't feel like an innocent curiosity anymore. Every instinct screamed for her to retreat, to hide. She remembered Lucas's dark gaze, how his smile twisted the very fabric of her dreams. What if he was out there, listening like a stranger? What if someone else was playing with her emotions, whispering lies in her ear? Gripped by fear and confusion, she clutched her phone like a lifeline. Talia, the voice outside, beckoned again, silky and smooth, but with a shadow threading through it. Open the door. I just want to talk. But who was it? Was it Lucas? Suddenly everything in her life felt like a complex web, and she was caught in the center. With her heart racing, she fought a battle against her own urge to answer. What would she sacrifice for the truth? And who would be the one standing on the other side? The walls seemed to whisper once more, urging her to make a choice. And deep down, she knew the moment was upon her because the truth, when it came, would change everything. What if it wasn't just the man she hoped would save her, but the very stranger lurking in the shadows, waiting for her to decide? Talia's breath hitched, suspended in the air as she wrestled with the fear ripping through her. The voice outside was so familiar, but shrouded in darkness. She couldn't see who it belonged to, or what their intentions were. The chilling chuckle echoed again, sending spiders crawling up her spine. She was trapped in a nightmare, and all the doors to escape were locked tight. The weight in her chest grew heavier, her thoughts spiraling. Should she call the police? What if it was Lucas, confused and wanting to talk? But then the voice returned, more confident, almost playful. You don't need to be afraid, Talia. We're just two old friends, remember? Old friends? Panic surged alongside her mounting confusion. She clutched her phone tighter, feeling the sweat bead on her palms. The dark silhouette didn't belong to someone she recognized. It wasn't Lucas. Lucas had always made her feel safe, had almost become the anchor in her storm of secrets and fears. This figure, it held nothing but uncertainty. Who are you? She cried out, her voice shaking as she fought to be brave, even while she felt so extremely vulnerable. Silence lingered, thick and suffocating. Did they expect her to just open up without a cue? With recent messages flooding her mind, doubt gnawed at her. What do you want from me? A soft, mocking laugh filled the air. To see you come alive, Talia. Let the truth out, and I promise, I'll be right here to catch you. Fear coursed through her veins, and she took a step back from the window, her heart racing, heartbeats drumming louder than anything else. She wanted to argue, to demand clarity, but there seemed to be no clarity in the night. The shadows whispered everything she feared yet everything she yearned to know. Then she heard it, the faintest sound of a footfall on her porch. It was quick, almost unnoticeable, but her body reacted instinctively, readying itself for a confrontation she wasn't sure she could handle. Don't play games with me, Talia shouted, her voice wavering yet fiercer than she'd expected. Just leave. Just go. The figure paused as if measuring her confidence. Perhaps it was a test? Leave? Why would I do that when we can have our own little secret game instead? A rush of adrenaline clouded her mind. This was truly maddening. The podcast host, the eerie stranger outside, and now a game? Thoughts collided as she considered her next move. She could call Lucas, but what if he was involved? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. What was it he had hinted at? Right before the news of her confession had been unearthed. It rattled in her mind, nagging and unresolved like a haunting melody. Her eyes darted back to the phone, and for a fleeting moment, she entertained calling the police. But then she thought about how that would look calling them because she heard a voice. No evidence, just shadows and whispers. Her gut tightened as the person outside called again. More insistent now. Talia, think about it. The truth can set you free or bind you to a life you never wanted. She pressed the phone to her ear, desperately wishing for answers instead of questions. What do you mean? What truth? The figure slinked closer to the window, shadows dancing around them, obscuring the face further. All in good time, darling, all in good time. And just like that, the front door creaked open behind her. Her pulse quickened. It wasn't locked. Was someone trying to break in? Or was it that she had left it ajar? Who was there? Her gut screamed that this was it, the moment of decision. Talia swiveled toward the door, pulse racing as dread pooled in her stomach. Was this figure here to save her or destroy her? What if it was time to face the truth, regardless of who stood in the shadows? Or maybe, just maybe, the real danger was the very person she thought she could trust. As the door swung wider, revealing a sliver of light, she realized she had to decide. Would she stay to confront the truth? Or would she run into the dark, away from all the secrets that tangled her life? The choice loomed heavy and intoxicating. Talia's heart thundered in her chest as she turned toward the door, straining to see what lay beyond the thin sliver of light. Could be Lucas, or an unknown threat waiting to pounce. Her instincts screamed at her to hide, to safeguard herself from whatever confrontation was about to unfold. But curiosity gnawed at her, pulling her closer, urging her to step into the unknown. Who is there? Her voice shook, but she clutched the edge of the counter, willing herself to stand firm. Silence answered her, but then a figure emerged, cloaked in shadows. The dim light started to outline a familiar silhouette, and her breath caught as recognition dawned. Her boss, Ethan. Ethan? The name slipped from her lips like a prayer. Confusion swirled in her mind. What was he doing here? What are you doing? I thought you were. She hesitated, unsure how to finish. At the office, he was all business kind, yet distant. Now, in her home, he felt like a whirlpool of secrets. You thought I would just let you deal with this alone? His voice was smooth, like velvet masking something sharp underneath. I've been worried about you since that last episode of the podcast. The surreal shift in context buzzed around her. Did he know the truth behind her fears? Had he listened to everything she had confided in her private moments? All those fears she had laid bare, all those jagged pieces of her life that she wished to keep hidden. Why would you come here? She choked out, desperate to understand his intentions. You shouldn't be here. Ethan took a step closer, the light catching the edge of his jawline, giving him an almost dangerous edge. Because I care. Care about you, Talia. The sincerity in his eyes momentarily softened the anxiety that gripped her heart. But the voice outside broke through her thoughts. Ah, and look who decided to join us. The figure outside taunted, its voice slithering through the air. The savior has arrived. Such a knight in shining armor you are. Her gaze flickered from Ethan's compelling stare to the window. Panic suddenly reignited. What do you mean? She felt raw, exposed, everything spinning out of her control, like a box too full of secrets teetering on the edge. Let us just say your guardian angel might be hiding a few feathers. The figure sneered, full of dark mirth. Wouldn't it be delicious to unveil the truths that bind you all together? Ethan stiffened, eyes narrowing as if he understood something deeply troubling. Talia, we need to leave now. But before Talia could process a response, the lights in the house flickered ominously and suddenly shattered chaos erupted. Glass exploded around them as a rock, propelled from the darkness, shattered the window. Instinctively, she lunged for Ethan, her heart racing like a jackhammer. "Stay down," he shouted, pulling her closer to the ground as glass rained down. Her mind reeled. Someone was trying to hurt her. Not just with words now, it was physical. She was no longer safe. The shadows outside began to close in like a dark fog enveloping everything. The mocking laughter poured in, echoing against the walls, drowning her in fear. "Do you really think you can protect her?" The figure outside laughed. Relentless. "The secrets will always find their way out, Talia. You can't hide from the truth." Breathless, Talia looked up at Ethan. The chaos around her spun into a blur, his face a fortress amid the storm. "What do we do?" she whispered, fear threading through her voice. He held her gaze, and for a moment, time froze. "The truth doesn't have to bind you," he said urgently, "but you need to trust me." As they crouched low, the shadows crept closer, darkness coiling around them. Talia's mind surged with questions. What did Ethan know that could help them? And what truth was she truly running from? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, the sound of footsteps sharpened into focus. The door creaked wider, and a figure stepped inside, a ghost from her past she never thought she'd see again. The moment had arrived. Would she finally confront the truth, or would the dark engulf her whole? The figure that stepped through the doorway seemed to flicker like a candle caught in a draft. Talia's breath hitched, recognition washing over her in waves of dread. It was Lucas, her former friend turned bitter enemy, the last person she thought would breach her sanctuary. "Surprised to see me?" Lucas's voice coated with venom curled around her, making her stomach churn. "Why are you here?" she managed, her heart pounding in her throat. The air was thick, suffocating, as if the very walls were closing in. Ethan instinctively moved in front of her, a protector standing firm against the tide of chaos. "Oh, I just wanted to say hello," Lucas sneered, his body language brimming with arrogance. "And to remind you that your precious secrets aren't so safe after all." Tension crackled like static electricity. Talia's mind scrambled for a foothold, memories flooding forth. Lucas had once been a confidant, but betrayal had twisted their bond into bitterness. The walls seemed to echo back the weight of her past, pressing down on her as reality blurred. Ethan clenched his jaw, glancing at Talia, and she could see the fire igniting in his eyes. "Get out of here, Lucas. You don't belong here," he warned, his voice low and dangerous. Laughing, Lucas took a step forward. "But I do belong. Talia can't hide from what's coming. The truth is like a festering wound, it will eventually bleed out." With each word he spoke, Talia felt vulnerable, as if every secret she had tried to bury was clawing its way back to the surface. "What do you want?" she shouted, anger burning away some of the panic. "Is this about revenge?" "Not revenge," he said, his tone cold and calculating. "It's about letting you peel away the layers of your carefully constructed life. You've built it on lies, Talia. And the truth," he paused, relishing the moment, "the truth might just destroy you." Ethan stepped forward, defiantly placing himself between Lucas and Talia. "You need to leave now." "I want to ask twice." "Such a noble gesture," Lucas mocked, waving a dismissive hand. "But can you really shield her from what's lurking in the shadows? You think you can protect her when you're as wrapped in the darkness as she is?" Talia felt the weight of Lucas's words, a gnawing fear unfurling in her gut. "What do you know?" she pressed, desperate for answers, even as dread bubbled up. "More than you think," he said, his eyes glinting with malicious excitement. "I know all about the secrets you've tried to keep buried, about the fears you whisper into the night. And I know what he's been keeping from you, your dear Ethan." "No." Talia's voice cracked. The fear coiling around her tightened further, like a vice. Was Ethan hiding something? Ethan turned slightly, just enough for her to catch a glimpse of the turmoil in his expression, masked beneath a veneer of calm. "This isn't the time," he said tightly, but something in his tone pulled at her, an urgency mixed with an unshakable truth. Lucas laughed again, the sound chilling her to the core. "Oh, I assure you, it's the perfect time. After all, the night is still young, and the truth waits for no one. Before Talia could respond, a loud crash shattered the moment. The back door flew open, and 3 shadowy figures poured in like a tide of darkness, their intentions clear as they surged toward them. Ethan shoved Talia behind him, facing the onslaught. "Run," he barked. "I'll hold them off." She hesitated, torn between fleeing and staying with the only anchor she had left in this storm of chaos. "No, I want to leave you," she screamed, panic surging like a wild animal. "Trust me," Ethan shouted back amidst the chaos, his voice both urgent and commanding. "Go. It's the only chance we have." The night suddenly felt heavier, a nightmare unfolding with each pulse of chaos. Talia's heart raced as fear clashed with loyalty, her mind racing for a way out. What were those shadows after? What secrets were now clawing their way back into the light? With her heart pounding, she made her choice, turning to run as the shadows advanced, knowing that the truth had only begun to unravel. What awaited her? In the darkness ahead? Would the past dissolve, or would it swallow them whole? Talia sprinted into the night, her breath coming in quick bursts, the cold air biting at her skin. Each step felt uncertain, as if the ground might crumble beneath her. She cast a frantic glance behind her. Lucas and Ethan, locked in a dangerous dance, were mere silhouettes as the shadows bore down on them. Heart racing, she pushed herself faster, desperation fueling her escape, the world around her blurred. The moonlight hung overhead like a distant spotlight revealing a path through the darkened woods that lined the back of her house. But the shadows were close. She could hear their footsteps, heavy and purposeful, an echo of intent that sent chills coursing through her. "Think, Talia, think," she urged herself, panting hard. Her mind swung like a pendulum between fear and resolve. Where was she even going? Her instincts led her to the old barn at the edge of the property, a place she often sought refuge. A place filled with memories that were both comforting and haunting. As she approached the barn, she took a moment to catch her breath, leaning against the weathered door. How had things spiraled so violently? How had her confidence in Ethan veered into distrust mere moments ago? What was Lucas planning? The questions ricocheted in her mind. Suddenly, a noise made her spin around, a rustling from the trees nearby. She peered into the darkness, squinting her eyes. Before she could react, one of the shadowy figures emerged from the tree, lean tall, muscular, and moving swiftly in her direction. Her heart leaped into her throat as panic surged again. But it was only Ethan. "Talia," he called, his voice raspy from the struggle. Relief surged through her, mixing with the terror that still clawed at her. Without thinking, she launched herself into his arms, clutching him tightly. "You made it. I told you to run," he gasped, stepping back to take her face in his hands. His eyes were wild, swept with urgency. "We don't have much time. I don't understand." She shook her head, the confusion crumbling the relief she felt moments ago. What did Lucas mean? What secrets is he talking about? He opened his mouth to speak but was interrupted by the noise of heavy footsteps approaching. Deliberate, slow, and menacing, they had come too close. Inside, Ethan demanded, practically pulling her through the barn door. She stumbled in, wide-eyed. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light, penetrating the barn's cracks, illuminating the chaos of old tools and discarded memories. "Why are they after us?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Anger changes people," Ethan replied, his expression hardened. "Lucas has tapped into something darker. He knows things I never wanted you to find out." "Like what?" His silence spoke volumes, each beat of her heart thudding like a countdown. The shadows were pressing in closer, their patterns flickering at the edges of the barn walls. Tension swelled, the air thick with secrets. "Tell me." Suddenly, the barn door banged open, light spilling in as 2 of the figures from earlier slipped inside. Talia's breathing hitched, and she instinctively stepped back, clutching Ethan's arm. He grimaced but stood firm, fierce determination swirling in his gaze. "Get out," he growled, low and dangerous. "No, you can't do this alone." With a roar, the shadows surged towards them, and she pushed herself forward, ready to fight. to stand her ground beside him. But in that moment, a deafening crack echoed, and the roof above them gave way, showering them with splintered wood and dust. Talia ducked instinctively as chaos erupted around them. Ethan's deep shout pierced through the confusion. Talia! The world spun as she felt something heavy crash around her, pain exploding in dizzying bursts. Darkness enclosed her vision, and then silence. Where was Ethan? Where was Lucas? As she lay there, the weight of everything pressing down on her, uncertainty gnawed at her. Would she wake to a world still intact? Or had everything collapsed under the secrets they thought they could control? And how much of the truth would she have to face before dawn broke? Again, the question lingered, unresolved, in the stillness of the barn. The darkness felt suffocating, a thick blanket that smothered the sound of her racing heartbeat. Talia blinked against the dust that hung in the air, her senses slowly sharpening like a knife. Pain shot through her side, anchoring her in the moment. She tried to sit up, but her body protested, sending waves of dizziness coursing through her. Ethan, she called, her voice hoarse and weak. Fear clawed at her throat, squeezing tighter as silence engulfed the barn. Where was he? Did he make it out? Cautiously, she turned her head, scanning the wreckage around her. Broken beams stretched across the floor as dust floated in the faint moonlight. The shadows in the corners were darker than before, moving like predators lurking just out of sight. She had to move, to find Ethan. With a pained grunt, Talia pushed herself up. Her legs felt heavy, unsteady. She gripped the edge of an old hay crate for support and pulled herself to her feet, breathing heavily. Ethan, she cried again, less confident now. Her heart thundered as dread coiled tighter within her. What if he hadn't escaped? The thought nearly paralyzed her. In the shadows, a shape emerged. Talia's breath hitched. Fear wrapped around her like barbed wire, ready to slice through any moment of hope. The form was dark, indistinct, but the looming presence felt dangerously familiar. Ethan? She ventured, her voice trembling. With a soft rustle, the figure stepped into the dim light. It was him. Relief surged through her, but confusion quickly followed. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead, staining his skin. Talia, he breathed, his voice a whisper laced with urgency. Are you okay? I think so, she replied hesitantly, eyeing the debris around them. What about you? I'll be fine, he insisted, wiping the blood away with the back of his hand. We need to get out of here before they realize we survived. What do you mean they? Before he could answer, a crash echoed from outside the barn, followed by the growl of distant voices. Her breath caught in her throat as the shadows outside began to thrum with movement. Fear escalated within her, a thick knot tightening in her chest. They're here, Ethan whispered, urgency clawing at his voice. We need to find a way out. Talia's mind raced, piecing together fragments of what Lucas had hinted at. The darker things Ethan had kept hidden. What did Lucas mean earlier? What secrets? Tell me, Ethan. He hesitated, his face shadowing with guilt. I thought I could protect you from this. Protect us. But it's deeper than I realized. Deeper how? She stepped closer, forcing him to meet her gaze. You can't shut me out now, Ethan. Not when our lives are on the line. Another crash rattled the barn, followed by a voice calling out, echoing through the structure. Ethan, you think you can hide forever? Talia shuddered at the sound. Lucas's tone had shifted. There was a chilling confidence to it. He was ready, almost relishing the hunt. With a growl, Ethan turned to the far side of the barn. Come on, there's a back way. Stay close, and whatever happens, do not stop moving. Wait, what about Lucas? She protested as he urged her forward, panic surging again. Nothing we can do for him now. It's us against them, he replied, his voice hardening. They darted toward the back of the barn, where the chaos outside throbbed like a living thing, alive with threats and secrets. Sweat dripped down Talia's back as adrenaline coursed through her veins. She had never felt so alive and so terrified. A loud bang reverberated through the barn walls as Ethan flung open a hidden door, revealing a narrow passageway. Quick! Go. Talia plunged into the darkness, the space tight and cluttered. Shadows clung to the walls, but she pressed on, heart pounding. Behind her, she could hear Ethan's footsteps, but they were quickly buried under the rising crescendo of Lucas's rage. Don't think you can escape me. His voice was filled with fury. A predator closing in. A shiver raced down her spine. Her lungs burned and the narrow confines cramped her thoughts, but she pressed on, stretching toward the faint glimmer of light ahead. Would they make it out? What had Ethan dragged her into? The walls felt like they were closing in, both from the passage and the secrets kept for so long. And just as the light began to pulse with hope, the echo of footsteps behind them sharpened, the predator bearing down, ready to unleash a storm of chaos. Could they really escape? Or was this only the beginning of a nightmare that would change everything forever? As they sprinted forward, the narrow passage constricted around them, limestone walls slick with moisture pressing in like the jaws of a trap. Talia's heartbeat thundered, each pulse echoing in her ears, drowning out the world outside. Could they outrun Lucas? Panic clawed at her throat, and the air tasted stale and gritty as it rushed into her lungs. Hold on, Talia. Just a bit further, Ethan urged, his voice strained but steady as he pushed her onward. She didn't respond. She focused on the glimmer of light ahead, its promise illuminating her fear. Get ready, he shouted suddenly, and without warning he skidded to a halt. Talia nearly collided with him, her body instinctively tensing as he raised a hand. A chill swept through her as she took in his expression. It was a mix of determination and despair. We're at the end of the tunnel. There's a door, but I don't know who or what lies beyond. She peered into the dim light of the opening, her mind racing with possibilities. Ethan, we have to take the chance. We can't stay here. Before Ethan could object, she pushed ahead, driven by a primal instinct to survive. The door creaked open, revealing a small, overgrown garden bathed in moonlight, a stark contrast to the chaos they had left behind. But she noticed the edges of the garden, cloaked in shadows, felt off, alive with tension. Talia, wait, Ethan hissed, grabbing her arm, but she shrugged off his grip, stepping forward, her senses straining to catch any hint of danger. The moment she crossed the threshold, a crack echoed like thunder, and the ground beneath her trembled. A gaping fissure opened where the edge of the garden met the forest, swallowing her gasp of shock as the chasm widened. Dread twisted in her stomach like a coiled serpent. Look out, Ethan yelled, pulling her against him just as a piece of earth crumbled away, tumbling down into the abyss. Is it safe? She asked, trembling. For now, he replied, scanning the shadows surrounding them. But we need to move. They skirted the edge of the chasm, an ominous silence pressing down on them, broken only by the distant calls of unseen creatures. Glancing back, Talia's heart raced. How far had they come, and how close was Lucas behind them now? Just then, footsteps crushed the foliage from behind them. Not just Lucas's, they were accompanied by more figures. Talia's breathing quickened as she turned to Ethan. We can't be surrounded like this. I know. But there's a way in the woods, Ethan whispered, pointing toward the thick trunks of the trees that loomed like sentries ahead. Stay low and follow my lead. As they darted into the shadows, adrenaline spiked. Talia couldn't stop her thoughts from racing. What if Lucas was right? What secrets did Ethan hide? With each step into the trees, she felt the weight of distrust growing heavier. Ethan, about Lucas, what is this all really about? She pressed quietly, desperately searching his face for answers. They ducked beneath sprawling branches that clawed at them like jagged fingers. His gaze fell to the ground, shame flickering across his features. I thought I could protect you from him. But Lucas isn't just dangerous, he's part of something bigger than either of us could be imagined. Bigger? The word sent chills down her spine. What do you mean? Just then, a flash of movement caught Talia's eye. Shadows flickered between the trees, shapes shifting and circling them. They were being hunted. Talia, run! Ethan shouted as the underbrush erupted with figures. Adrenaline shot through her again, and she took off, heart hammering. But as she sprinted deeper into the woods, a thought crept in, a horrible realization. If Lucas isn't just hunting us, she gasped, breathless, racing alongside Ethan. What if it's all connected? What if he's after something more? A forceful shove came from behind, sending her tumbling to the ground, the panic and darkness enveloping her. Ethan's shout turned into a garbled cry as she struggled to regain her feet. Grasping for some semblance of hope amid the chaos and the shadows, she could hear their voices closing in, their steady breaths a harbinger of doom. The game was no longer just about survival. It was about uncovering a truth so vast that it could change everything if they made it out alive. And as she looked back, dread washing over her, she spotted a glint in the darkness, the unmistakable glimmer of a blade catching the moonlight. Was Lucas really the monster, or was he just a pawn in a much larger game? The night had only just begun, and they were about to plunge deeper. Would Talia and Ethan uncover the truth before it was too late? Or would they be swept away in the tide of secrets threatening to consume them both? Talia's heart pounded in her chest like a war drum, drowning out the creeping dread that wrapped around her like a vice. She pushed herself to her feet, every muscle trembling with fear and urgency. Ethan had been right, there was something lurking in the shadows, and it was hunting them. "Ethan, where are you?" she whispered, scanning the darkness around her. The sudden stillness felt oppressive, an eerie blanket hanging over the woods. Then, she spotted him, darting between the gnarled roots of an ancient tree, his breath coming in short, desperate gasps. "We've got to keep moving," he urged, pulling her close as another shadow flitted past, a figure too tall, too distorted. Her instincts screamed at her to run again. As they stumbled deeper into the tangled forest, Talia felt the weight of Ethan's earlier words pressing down on her. What did he mean about Lucas being part of something bigger? Why was she thrust into a game that felt infinitely more dangerous than she could comprehend? A hoarse shout broke the silence. "They went this way." The voice was rough, echoing through the trees. Talia froze, panic crashing over her like a wave. "Ethan, they're coming," she hissed, the urgency spilling from her lips. "I know," he shot back, his fingers gripping her arm. "We need a plan. I saw something back there, a cabin or some kind of structure, a cabin." She glanced toward the direction he pointed, a swirl of hope and desperation battling within her. "Do you think it's safe? It's the only chance we have." He tugged her again, and they sprinted toward a flash of light flickering through the trees. Hope was a fragile thread, but it was all she had. The underbrush crackled ominously beneath their feet as they approached the cabin, half hidden in the shadows. Talia could see it now. A small, dilapidated structure overgrown with ivy and moss. The door hung ajar, creaking softly with the wind. A veil of moonlight illuminated the entrance, casting a haunting glow that beckoned them closer. "Stay behind me," Ethan whispered, and she nodded, her throat tight with tension. They stepped onto the creaking porch, and he pushed the door wide open, revealing a dimly lit room cluttered with old furniture and dust. "Look," Talia pointed to an old lantern perched on a table in the corner, barely flickering but still alive. With shaking hands, she lit it, bathing the space in a warm glow that felt like a fragile sanctuary. As they took a breath, the oppressive feeling of being hunted still lingered. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps cracked like thunder outside the cabin, heavy and deliberate. Talia felt her stomach sink. "They found us." A dark figure appeared on the porch. It was Lucas, his silhouette framed against the moonlight, stark and menacing. "I knew you'd lead me here," he said, a chilling smile creeping across his face. "You two have nowhere to run now." Talia's pulse quickened, adrenaline pumping in her veins. "Ethan, what do we do?" she whispered urgently, fear clawing at her chest. Ethan's eyes darted around the room, desperate to find something, anything he could use. "We have to outsmart him," he replied, his voice low and firm. "Talia, just trust me. Okay?" Before Lucas could push through the door, Ethan lunged for an old, broken chair propped against the wall. With a primal scream, he flung it at Lucas, who stumbled back in shock. "Now!" Ethan yelled. Talia reacted instinctively, darting toward the window at the back of the cabin. If they could get outside, they might still escape. But as she jumped through the frame, a sharp pain shot through her side. She gasped as something sharp caught her. Glancing down, she saw blood soaking through her shirt, panic rushing through her like ice water. "Talia!" Ethan's voice cracked, and she felt his arms around her, pulling her outside. The forest loomed ahead, unfathomable and dark. They had to keep moving, but now there was no telling who was after them, how deep the betrayal ran, or how far Lucas would go to reclaim whatever he was hunting. With the scars of that encounter now etched into her skin, Talia knew they were losing. Precious moments. The truth felt perilously close yet still out of reach. As they stumbled deeper into the wilderness, she glanced back, heart heavy with dread. What had they awakened? What if discovering the truth meant facing monsters both old and new? The night was far from over, and Talia realized something profound. The hunt was just beginning. Unbeknownst to them, something much larger loomed in the shadows, waiting to unveil its secrets. With every step, she felt the unanswered questions clawing at her mind. Who were they really running from? And what would happen when the truth finally emerged? The air felt electric, charged with unspoken tension as Talia stumbled through the dark underbrush, clutching at Ethan's arm. The night was a grim shadow, threatening to crush them under its weight as they raced deeper into the wilderness. Her breath came in harsh gasps, mingling with the thudding of her heart, a constant reminder of the danger bearing down on them. "Are you hurt?" Ethan's voice was urgent, flicking to her side where blood still trickled, painting her skin in crimson. "We need to stop. No time." She shook her head, her voice shaky but resolute. "We can't stop until we shake him off." In the distance, the haunting echo of Lucas's taunts slithered through the trees, a predatory sound that sent shivers racing down her spine. "You can run, but you can't hide forever, Talia." The bitterness in his voice ignited a fire in her chest. It wasn't just about survival now. It was about reclaiming her life from the shadows he cast. "What does he want from us?" she hissed through clenched teeth. "Everything," Ethan replied grimly, the weight of his words hanging heavily between them. Then, from the corner of her eye, she spotted a flicker of movement, a finger-like branch entangling itself among the shadows. "Ethan, look." He turned just as a figure emerged closer to them. A man, wielding a flashlight, highlighting his path through the trees, a look of fierce determination etched into his face. "Lucas sent me," the man barked, his voice strong yet unclear among the chaos. "But I'm not here to hurt you." "Yeah, right," Talia gasped, adrenaline shooting through her as her instincts screamed danger. "Hold on," Ethan demanded, stepping protectively in front of her. "What do you mean you're not here to hurt us? Please, listen." The stranger kept his hands visible. "I don't want to hurt you. My name is Jasper. I've been tracking Lucas. He's part of something much bigger than you realize." The chill in the air thickened as Ethan and Talia exchanged looks. "What do you mean by bigger?" Ethan asked, skepticism flickering in his eyes. "Lucas has been drawn into a dangerous underground network, a web of deception and threats," Jasper said urgently. "He's not just after you. He's been following orders from someone much more powerful. People who control everything from the shadows." Talia felt a swell of frantic energy, her fears pooling within her. "And what do they want from us?" she pushed, her heart thundering. "Secrets, knowledge that could destroy him," Jasper replied, locking eyes with both of them. "And now they're willing to go to any lengths to keep that information hidden, even if it means hurting you." "Wait, how do you know all this?" Ethan interjected, fear flickering in his eyes. Jasper glanced nervously around. "I was once part of that world. I thought I could handle it, but I couldn't. When I saw Lucas's obsession with you, Talia, I knew you two were in danger." Understanding dawned. "So you want to help us?" "Exactly. If we can reach the old warehouse at the edge of the woods, we might have a chance. It's a place Lucas can't touch." Talia hesitated, grief clenching her heart. Could they trust him? But in that moment, she remembered Lucas's renewed threats, the way he clawed at her past, and the danger pushing down on them like winter snow. Before she could decide, from the trees, A sharp laugh rang out Lucas's voice, sending a rush of unease through her again. You really think you can escape me? You don't know what you're dealing with. The fear that clutched at her heart urged her into action. We need to go, she whispered, determination sharpening her voice. Jasper nodded, his gaze steady. Follow me. They ran, urgency driving them deeper into the woods as branches snapped against their skin, the night swirling around like a dark tide. With every step, Talia could feel the cold grip of lurking shadows, but deep inside, she also felt a flicker of hope, a possibility of escape. The warehouse stood ahead, old and crumbling, a silent guardian against the chaos of Lucas's pursuit. Ethan pushed the door open, revealing dust and shadows inside. The door slammed shut, behind them, sealing off the night and its dreadful secrets. Now what? Talia breathed, glancing at her companions, anxiety gnawing at her. Now, Jasper said, his voice steady. We need to uncover the truth. It's time to face what Lucas has uncovered, whatever it is and whoever he is working for. As Talia absorbed his words, an unexpected strength surged within her. If confronting the truth meant shedding light on the darkness of her heart, she couldn't hesitate any longer. Ethan took her hand, steady and reassuring. Whatever this truth brings, we'll face it together. The walls of the warehouse felt less intimidating as bonds solidified, pulling them together against the shifting darkness awaiting their moves. With a resolve forged through fear and uncertainty, Talia smiled faintly, a glimmer of hope that the shadows could not extinguish. The truth waiting ahead might unravel everything she thought she knew, but perhaps, just perhaps, it would allow her to reclaim her life, once and for all. Everything felt poised for a final confrontation. On the cusp of revelation as they stood together, Talia whispered, "Let us do this." And with that, they stepped into the unknown, ready to wrest the truth from the shadows, knowing the path ahead would change everything for better or for worse. It was now or never. Time was ticking down, and the game was about to begin in earnest as the last echoes of the outside world faded. One question lingered. Could they outsmart Lucas, uncover the secrets woven through their lives, and emerge unscathed? Or would they simply return to the darkness that threatened to swallow them whole? In the gathering quiet, answers were on the horizon, and for the first time in a long time, Talia felt ready to meet them head-on. This was their moment, and they would seize it together. Now, don't just read this amazing conclusion, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And you need to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of jumping in on every moment.